Hello guys and welcome back for another weekly what I watched. Okay, so we started the week with a little documentary on Netflix called Untold: The Girlfriend Who Didn't Exist. Now, I'm kicking someone's bag. The minute a documentary comes on Netflix, I'm generally on it immediately. This is a really good one. This follows an NFL football player called Manti Te'o. And what happens, there is another individual that it's basically a massive big catfishing story, but it gets really out of hand. Things just go, it doesn't say on there what happens, but I'm not going to tell you. Watch it. He gets involved with someone online who isn't what they seem, but it goes much further than that. And obviously he's an NFL player. He's very much up and coming. He's winning awards, and this gets into the media. People are aware of his girlfriend, and his girlfriend isn't who people think they are. Shit hits the fan, guys. This is a really interesting documentary. I would massively recommend it. One of my secret addictions used to be watching Catfish. I loved it. I just love the sort of tangled web people weave. This is just on another level, and it is all true. It's really good. I think I gave it 4 out of 5. So massive recommendation for that one. Okay, so I realised the video was much too close, so we've moved it back to make room for that down this side. What am I like? Next, I finally saw Nope. Okay, so I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. It's a Jordan Peele film. I love Get Out. I adore Us. This guy generally, it's a similar feeling to how I felt when Shyamalan first started. The movies that he came out with was just movie after movie that were awesome. There's a couple of stinkers in there, but Shyamalan blows Nope out of the water when it comes to aliens, signs, every day of the week above Nope. So I'm not going to go into massive detail about this. The story follows a brother and sister whose father has died. They live in the middle of nowhere. Do they wrangle horses? They do something with horses that I can't explain. They train horses, is that what it is? And they see something in the sky that they want to document. They want to prove to the world that something weird's going on above their land, above their house. I won't say any more than that, because if you haven't seen it, you don't want any spoilers of any description. I enjoyed this. But I didn't adore this. I didn't love it. I expected to come away with that same feeling that I came away from other Jordan Peele films with. I just didn't feel it with this. It was enjoyable. There are bits. It's one of those movies where when you've finished you need to Google what was the relevance of that, because it's impossible to work out on its own. So I had a Google afterwards, and bits that didn't particularly land with me, sort of like, right, that's why they done that. But I would say it's worth a watch. I would say go see what you think of it yourself. It is massively dividing people. Some people think it's a work of genius. Other people are a bit lukewarm about it, like myself. I will say the cinematography and sound design is fantastic. There are some fantastic moments of tension in here. I just don't feel we had the payoff that I wanted. Maybe I wanted a different kind of movie. Maybe that's what it was. But it still does have that message running underneath about humans and humanity and things that we do, which I love about his movies. So, Nope, I think I gave 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. On the same day, I watched this in bed. This is a little Netflix movie. Sometimes I just like to watch something easy. As I've said before, this is called Look Both Ways. This is a similar concept to Sliding Doors, if you've seen it, with Gwyneth Paltrow, in that we follow this young girl's life. On the eve of her college graduation, she massively wants to move to LA with her friend. She wants to work in animation, but this follows her life. She takes a pregnancy test after a one-night stand with her friend, and one life she has a positive result, and it follows what would happen in that scenario, and in her other life she had a negative result, and she follows what she would have done had this pregnancy never happened. I don't like romantic comedies. This isn't a romantic, it's a romance movie, but I quite enjoyed this. I'm not going to say I loved it, but it was one of those things that you watch that you come away feeling, that was pleasant, that was nice. I liked how it ended. I liked the message that it gave. Regardless of what path you take in life, you'll be okay. You're not, You may have trials and tribulations, things may happen that are horrible, you may wish you hadn't done this or hadn't done that, but in the long run, you'll be okay, it'll work out. So that I gave a 3 out of 5. I enjoyed. Now, should I have rated that the same as Nope? Probably not. Nope. But maybe my rating of Nope was a bit unfair. It's just a personal enjoyment level. I really enjoyed Look Both Ways. Do I think it's in the same league as a movie as Nope? No, I don't. But it's how I enjoyed them. On the next evening, I watched Astronaut with, this guy's name escapes me every time, Richard Dreyfuss. So this follows Richard Dreyfuss and his family. He's a widower. He's always had a dream to go to space. A competition is launched where the winner gets to go to space, and he's too old. I think the cutoff is 65. He's obviously much over that. He has been moved into a retirement home because his health is getting a bit much to deal with. His daughter's not entirely happy, but her husband is sort of like pushing. He needs to go into a home. His grandson, his daughter's son, is very close with him. They've got a lovely relationship. This is a movie about family. It's about relationships. It's about dreams and hopes. It's about never forgetting who's inside. Even in the midst of ill health, always remember that person that they once were. It's a nice movie. I wanted, again, a little bit more from it. It's just nice. I think I rated it a 2.5 out of 5. I did. I just wanted so much more, and with Richard Dreyfuss we should get so much more because he is a good actor. It was just sweet. It's something you could sit down with your family on a Sunday afternoon and watch, and it's just a nice movie. So that's Astronaut. Okay, so Astronaut I watched in bed that night. This one I watched earlier that day. Bullet Train. So the two that I'd been wanting to see for ages were Nope and Bullet Train, and I just could not get a chance to go to see them until this week passed. So, Bullet Train. Now, I've heard very mixed reviews about this one. So, this is Brad Pitt's new movie. He is on the bullet train in Japan, which looks amazing. I want to go on that. So, it's like a... The first thing I'll say is this has a real Tarantino feel to it. I felt it did. It felt a lot like Pulp Fiction. And what's really weird is people that know me know that it pains me that I don't enjoy Pulp Fiction because I love Tarantino. And I know I'm wrong in that. Let me get that out there. Just something doesn't land for me about Pulp Fiction, and I hate it. I don't hate the movie. I hate that I don't like the movie. This had a similar feel to me, but I really enjoyed it. And I don't understand that. The comedy, the humour in this really landed for me. And I know it didn't for a lot of people. I love Brad Pitt in this. I like him doing comedy. The only thing that did grate on me a bit was the contrived British accents. There is a British actor in this who plays one of a twosome who is British. I actually googled it because his accent sounded so phony, and he is actually British, but I think he's overemphasizing the Cockney and it just sounds cartoonish. The other guy is not British. His accent slips back in and out of American and British all the time. I'm a big believer in allowing people to speak with their own accents. Don't make them speak with an accent. It's believable. We can travel the world. Anybody can live anywhere. You don't need to make people speak with an accent to make them interesting. Unless you're telling the real life story of an individual where you have to speak with an accent, don't worry about it. So this obviously follows Brad Pitt, who is on an assignment on a job on the bullet train. These two guys are on a job and another lady is on a job. I'm not going to give you all the actors' names. So obviously these stories all interweave together. They're all looking to do a similar thing. And we follow the fallout of all of these individuals stuck together on this train, unable to get off, wanting to fulfill a particular task. I enjoyed it. I liked the action scenes, and the comedy particularly worked for me. It felt really dry in places, and I quite liked that. So I really enjoyed Bullet Train. I see Sean maybe wasn't a big fan. He gave it a 2.5. I know Sarah's review I watched, she didn't really like it at all, a 2 out of 5. Weirdly, I enjoyed this one. I was not expecting to because people that I tend to have similar views on movies with weren't keen, but I really enjoyed it. Maybe there's something wrong with me, I don't know. So I gave that one a 3.5 out of 5. Okay, oh, right, we'll not spend any time in this. It's not a movie. Does it say anything? Okay. So looking at the consequence of first cousin marriage in Britain. I watched this because it is a documentary that popped up on Netflix. As I'm watching it, I realised I'd seen it before. It was about half an hour, 45 minutes long. what this is about, and I'm not going to get into, well, it's about first cousins marrying. Apparently there is no legal, you're allowed to marry your first cousin, that's fine. So if like I had a sibling, Isaac would be allowed to marry my sibling's child. But the consequence of that is that there's all kinds of genetic issues that come about from that. Children, it concentrated on this one family from Bradford, and all of the children except one were severely mentally and physically handicapped. And it comes from both parents basically carrying the same faulty gene. Now, normally, if two people get together, it would be very unlikely that they would both carry that same faulty gene because they're from different families, and we can all be carriers of particular conditions, but we don't pass that down. In the case of marrying a first cousin, the first cousin a lot of the time has that same faulty gene, and you're going to give that illness to the child. So it follows basically, this happens mainly in the Muslim, the Pakistani community, where it is actually a tradition to marry your first cousin. They follow families in Bradford. I used to live just outside of Bradford. My husband is from there. It follows like clinics in Birmingham, and the real reluctance of older people within the community to accept there's an issue. The mother that had all of the children except one that was seriously ill is convinced that doctors made her children ill by giving them medication. There's just a massive reluctance, and it spoke to younger people in the street that said their parents blackmailed them or made them feel pressured into marrying first cousins when they didn't want to. So it was interesting. If you're interested in people and customs and religions and traditions, it was an interesting watch. Quite sad really, but yeah, that was when cousins marry. This one was awful. Now, I've given this a 2 out of 5 because it was funny. So I am really interested in stuff about UFOs and aliens and all that stuff. I used to be one of those people. There's a little bird outside eating that bush. Is that like berries? I'm not sure. We've got a line of birds on our fence. I like to feed the birds with seeds and fat balls and any little bits that they might like. And we've got about 15 little sparrows lined up on our fence now looking in the window. Honestly. You see them when you walk the dogs, you come back and they're all lined up on our roof as well. The only roof in the whole row, and all the birds are lined up. I'm going to star in an Alfred Hitchcock movie one day. So, Confessions of an Alien Abductee. This follows individuals that very clearly are deluded. Now, let me explain. I, once upon a time, I thought anyone that believed in UFOs or aliens was a crackpot. Since watching an awful lot of information and educating myself a little bit on certain people, bear with me, there is a lot of proof out there. I feel like I'm in the X-Files right now. The truth is out there. But I do feel people are onto something, some of them. There is a lot of stuff, I'm not going to talk about it now in this video, but there's some stuff that completely swayed me, completely changed my opinion. But these individuals in this, oh my God, are all completely deluded. One woman even had a DNA test done because she was convinced the aliens had altered her DNA and she was part alien. She was really angry when her results came back that she was fully human. She was also really angry when she did a lie detector which proved she was being dishonest about everything apart from her name. That's lies. I don't believe it. Get out of my house. It was just funny. And another woman that says every time her and her son eat KFC, they get abducted. Well, not all the time, but most of the time when we have KFC or some form of chicken, we get abducted. And another guy that sleeps with an alien cat queen and has fathered her children. And his wife's not best pleased about it. So yeah, it was funny. So I'm not scoffing the idea, I'm scoffing the individuals in this documentary. It gave me a good laugh. Okay, so what else? Moonfall. Right, these two I watched last night. Okay, so I've said, you can probably see there, it's just stupid, beautiful fun. Yes, it's ridiculous. Switch off your brain and enjoy. This is the story about Patrick Wilson's in this. He's well worth watching. Patrick Wilson and Halle Berry, and they at the beginning are singing Toto Africa really badly up in space. Bit of a disaster happens. I don't know if he's sacked from NASA, but basically this movie follows an impending disaster that's happening with regards to the moon being out of its orbit. It's moved. Why is it moved? No one knows, and this is what happens in this movie. They find out why, and they have to deal with it. We have, now I've forgotten the guy's name, he plays Samuel Tarly in Game of Thrones, John Bradley, who I love, in this as a bit of a geek, someone that's massively interested in everything to do with, what is it he calls them, massive structures or something. But he works out what's happening before NASA has, because the figures don't add up as to research he's doing. No one will listen to him because he's just some nerd. Now, originally, when talking about accents, he was actually asked to speak with an American accent, and then he tested with his normal British accent, and they thought it was, for the part that he's playing, it was a much better fit. It was much more charming in the sense of his character, which I completely agree with. Don't make people speak in accents when they don't have to. So they kept the British accent, and I feel it worked fantastically. Now, the performances in this are all really good. The cinematography in this is absolutely awe-astounding. The CGI, it's beautiful to look at. It's a spectacle. The storyline and things that happen is just completely ridiculous. This stuff is just like, no, you can't be going to do that. Yes, they've done it. Doesn't matter, I enjoyed it. So if we can watch movies about superheroes, if we can watch movies about blue people that live in Pandora, why can't we suspend belief and watch something that people go, that would never happen, that's ridiculous. Half of the movies we watch would never happen, it's ridiculous. It's about escapism. And I enjoyed it. It was ridiculous, but I enjoyed the performances. It did make me laugh in places it probably shouldn't have, but I enjoyed it. Moonfall. And finally, last night, now I have, let me try and get, is it Alan Scouser to thank for this? Alan is indeed a Scouser. A lot of you may know he talks about horror movies mostly. Now, I was on a stream last week with Leo at Geek Legion of Doom, his friend Matt, Aaron, and Alan. And The Fog came up. Alan's a big James Herbert fan. We were talking about books. He mentioned The Fog. I have always confused The Fog and The Mist. You can obviously see why. And I'm, oh, is that the one with the ending that's really shocking? And they're like, no, that's The Mist. And then I thought to myself, have I ever seen The Fog? Have I actually never seen this? And it just, nothing would occur to me if I'd seen this. So last night I sat down and watched it. Yes, I have seen it. The only parts of it that I remembered, because I watched it many, many years ago, it was released in 1980, was Adrienne Barbeau in the She's a Radio DJ with the most amazing voice. I think the only voice I've heard, female voice that matches hers, is Rainbow Fright DeRay. Her voice is a very similar quality to Adrienne Barbeau in this. Is Adrienne Barbeau? You know who I mean. So I remembered that. I remembered the view out across the coast, the sea, that she's looking out the window. I didn't remember most of the rest of the plot, but this movie reminds me, it takes me right back to being a child. I wouldn't have obviously watched this, I'm not quite that old. But going back to being a young child and discovering horror movies, things like Silver Bullet, The Fly, American Werewolf in London, all those movies, Poltergeist, this, and it just took me right back to that period in life where just movies were made a certain way, and it reminded me why I fell in love with movies. I love, like, when you watch this, a lot of it's very dated, and it's not frightening, but I just love how this is put together. I just love it. It just reminds me of that quality that horror movies had back in the 80s that I fell in love with completely, that I think nowadays is quite lost. I think for us to have an effective horror movie now, someone needs to do something completely different, like Shyamalan did and like Jordan Peele does. They need to come at it from a different angle, like Hereditary, like that one that everybody says is like The Wicker Man. I love those movies. I love when people do something a little bit different. But this, the original old 80s movies, loved it. Really, really enjoyed it. So thank you, Alan, for making me think, have I seen that? I must watch that again. The Fog. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, that is what I've watched this week. Okay, so apologies for the fact that I stopped screen recording near the beginning of the video and never went back. That's absolutely unforgivable. Am I going to go back and talk about all those movies again? No, So I will have put pictures up at the side as I'm talking about the movies. You won't have the usual screen. Apologies for that. I will just put up a Letterboxd like still. So the only other thing I watched that's not listed on Letterboxd is a series on Netflix by the name of Echoes. This follows identical twin sisters who have gone their entire life switching for particular reasons in life. One of these sisters goes missing. The other obviously goes in to try and find what's happened, and a whole can of worms is opened, and it just spirals into all kinds of stuff. Interesting idea. I thought it was a bit confusing. It was a bit back and forth. It was a bit like, hang on, which one's this? Which one? It was just confusing. I do like where they were going. I do like what they did, but I didn't think that they carried it off as well as I could have done. I do feel it's worth watching. It's just not going to be like, you're not going to be blown away. It's not amazing, but it was interesting. And I will finish with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I discovered last week that when you win a trophy, it records 14 seconds of footage. So I am going to delight you now, people, with some of my trophies so you can see, because I never include gameplay footage or anything like that, so I'm going to put it in at the end. Currently I've discovered a thing called mastery challenges. I have 100%ed Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the Paris, Siege of Paris, and the Wrath of the Druids, which is Ireland. I've done that all, but now there's mastery challenges where you have to beat all these challenges and you have to get perfect scores to get gold medals, and all of them to get trophies. Yes, trophies. I'm a completist, what can I say? So hard. I mean, in one of them you have to parry, get a certain amount of marks for parrying. Basically means deflecting or defending from a blow or an attack. You have to kill a certain amount of people via fire kills. You have to kill a certain amount of people via fall kills. Other ones are stealth, where you're not allowed to be detected. You have to try and collect stuff. You have to do it perfectly, and if you make one mistake, you don't get the gold trophy. Last night I usually have about 2 hours a night on weekdays playing Assassin's Creed, and honestly 2 hours trying to do one challenge last night, and one time I had it and someone sneaked up behind me and killed me. I was devastated. So I'm going to put in a few of the little trophies for you if you're interested. If you're not, just switch off. But do let me know in the comments, guys, if you would like to see any gameplay. I'll record me trying to do one of the challenges to give you a laugh if you're interested. But thank you for watching this week, guys, and I shall be back with you next week for another What I've Watched, but hopefully later this week you will have my 2,000 subscriber Q&A. Thanks for watching, guys. Over and out from Lisa Liss. Okay, this is the one where you had to slide 150 meters to get a trophy. Ridiculous. Scaddy's hobby, I think. Yeah, that's it. The things you do, hey? Right, that's me. Go on to the next one. Right, this is a good one. This is an equine kill. So you have to assassinate someone from the top of a horse. That's just me getting rid of the other two. And you get an equine attack trophy. There you go, Eivor, get stuck under them. This is not the monk you're looking for, nor you're looking for. I have to sneak past these guys without them realising who I am. This one is where you have to crash into 5 boats within 2 minutes. That's the last one. Row Rage. You may hear stuff in the background because I had no idea these were being recorded, guys. This is where you have to light all the torches on Hadrian's Wall up at the base of Scotland. Is there anybody out there? I'm thinking about Pink Floyd. What's the next one? Right, I'm talking to Isaac here. Yes, my frustration. That trophy is you have to get a guy to chuck you off something high. Flying Eivor.
Not ridiculous, imagine.
So yes. Right, this one is where you have to kill 2 high-powered soldiers while you're on fire, and you're not allowed to break their shields. Over-designed too. It was not easy. This is the flighting challenge, where you have to do poems and beat them, like old-fashioned flighting. You do it all over the city. That's when I got Thor's hammer. Mullen, I can't pronounce it. Thor's hammer, yes. Very pleased he was too. Then, if that wasn't good enough, I got Excalibur next time. And I'm listening to Mike, I think, when I get Excalibur. I am watching, did you see that, on YouTube, or listening, as I got Excalibur. There you go. This is Orlog.
Please work.
It's
Please
a
work.
game that you play
Yes,
in
fine.
Assassin's Creed.
I told
That's
you.
my son on the background. And I've just beat every single Orlog
Yes.
champion in the whole of the game.
The gods favored your hand today.
What's this one? I can't think. Old school, right. So you have to find 5 treasures of 5 different treasure maps that you also have to find. And that's me finding that one. This is the last trophy. I had to catch one of every fish that existed, which I just did there. And that's my husband talking to the dogs.
How the hell
Yes,
have I done
a
that?
bit surprised I was that I'd done that one.